giving up is not even an option. It just doesn't even exist.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And when you believe in something, bro, like this company, like I just don't see how it could fail.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the smartest guys in the room. It's your boy O.
I'm Jeff. And I'm Big Just.
And we're super excited to welcome our guest. We've been trying to get this man on here for a very long time. Telemundo,
He's finally here.
They've been stealing this man's time. Let's give it up for our boy Hector Carvajal.
Thank you. What's up, bro? Not much, tranquilito. You know, just here. Happy to be here. Appreciate you guys for the opportunity.
We're happy to have you, man. More than anything.
It means a lot. You know, I feel like I'll be hopping in caves, and you guys brought me back out of the cave.
You brought us back
out. Yeah.
Yo, Hector, for those who do not know who you are, I don't want to steal your shine. Please give a quick little brief intro before we start asking you about your day.
And we hit him with the ad-libs.
Mama!
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, so I'm the founder and CEO of Don Carvajal Cafe, which is a specialty coffee company based in the Bronx, and we roast our coffee in Long Island City. I started my brand in 2019. I started researching it in 2018 in college, and then I launched it while I was a student in my dorm room. Dominican culture, Dominican coffee is what inspired it, and I made it in honor of my grandfather, which his last name was Carvajal, so I made it Don Carvajal in honor of this like patriarch, father figure, OG, Don vibes. And yeah, man, and we've had a lot of opportunities to get it out there, you know, and yeah, man, we've hit places I didn't think we would. I just knew it would go far.
Yeah.
I just didn't know how far. And now we're getting to I'm seeing how far it could go, and we still going, you know, so yeah.
You want to just quickly kind of take us back to that moment in that dorm room in college, like where you're starting to put together this business plan? Like, obviously, at first, was it really like, I'm doing this for class? And then as you started kind of unraveling it, did it really like say, no, this is an opportunity here?
Like, do you know it's going to be coffee specifically?
You know, I didn't know it was going to be coffee.
But business, like
I've always been entrepreneurial. Like, I've even sold candy on the train in New York City. Like, I've
rite of basketball team. That's a rite of passage, bro.
Like the hustle has always been there. Like, I've done it all, right? Even on Fordham, flyers, bro, all that. You know what I mean? You know how that goes.
Oh yeah.
So
Jimmy's Bronx Cafe flyers. I was on Fordham, slanging them, trying to get my free ticket.
Feel me?
Passing out flyers to team badges.
It's so many parts. It's so many parts, bro.
Yeah.
Did I know it was coffee? No. Did I know I was gonna do some type of business? Yeah, because I interned at so many different firms and companies every summer. I hated sitting at a desk. Like, it was inside of me like, yo, I gotta get out of here. Like, I gotta get up, I gotta move.
Yeah.
Maybe I have ADHD, I just don't know it. You know what I mean? Like, I was just like, I just gotta move. I like switching my scenery. I feel like I get bored of stuff. So I like switching it up. But in that dorm room, man, like, that's where I learned that I'm an experiential learner. Like, I like to touch, feel, like I like to actually be involved. I like to sit in front of the class, look at you, ask you questions right away. Fact. Like, the least professors I liked were the ones that were like, talk to the TAs, and I'm like, no, I want to talk to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I didn't know it was gonna be coffee. I was that one weird kid, like, yo, homie really got un saco de café in his dorm room, like raw coffee, just sitting in there, and people are just like, yo, what are you doing with this? Like, this is for a class project. You know what I mean? Like,
don't worry about it.
What do you mean?
He was like Kanye, roasting 3 beans a day.
You feel me? 3 beans a day for 3 summers. Feel me? And that makes 9. So yeah, bro. Like, I just that's what made me go to class.
Yeah.
Because I was going to class to learn stuff and plug it into the business. That's where I was like, you already got the street smarts. Like, I grew up in the hood. And you just kind of get that survival mode going. Yeah. And then I was like, if I get the book smarts down. And then I kind of found this idea of coffee. I was like, yo, I don't know. Like, maybe there's something there. And then whatever I was learning from class, I was just literally grabbing it and applying it to the business. Like, I learned it from a dry cleaner. So, okay, cool. Let's translate that into coffee. I learned a marketing campaign about BMW and Porsche and Apple. Let's translate that into coffee. You know what I mean? So, like, everything I was learning, I was just translating it into me, into Hector, into the kid from the Bronx, into the Dominican immigrant, into Don Carvajal, and then that's kind of how I came up with the brand.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, so I was guided by like these professors in terms of a project. You know what I mean? And to me, that was like the biggest benefit ever.
Yeah. So it seemed like along the way there was like a lot of decisions or like kind of forks in the road. You'd be like, all right, I got to figure out, is it gonna be this or is it gonna be that? What's kind of my direction gonna be? What do you think is like the most pivotal in like the last 4 or 5 years, right? Like, you know, there have been many moments where you had to make some decisions. What have been some of the most pivotal looking back? Like, yo, that was a really smart decision that I made looking back.
So many.
Key on that is, what was the smartest decision you made?
Yeah. You know, because it could have gone left. You made one choice, you know, that.
I feel like, oh man, it's two of them. 'Cause it's so many of them, but there's two of them that are just like massive. One was not opening up a roastery and cafe in the Bronx. That was like that.
Before you get to the second one, we expand on that one because
No. I'm going to expand on it because that was like $400,000, $500 ticket, $500,000 ticket. You know what I mean? And like, I believe in myself so much, I will go into debt $500,000. And like learning the industry and learning the game, I was just like, this is the way that you go. You want to open up a coffee shop. You want to build a physical establishment. You want people to walk in, have the experience and all these other And I'm also big on community. So I wanted to create a space for the community. I wanted kids from the hood to come and like learn how to work the coffee business, get the experience, shadow me. Like I say, I just wanted to, that was my dream.
Yeah.
And then COVID really like clarified that we're not in the space to be doing physical things. Because what happens when COVID happens? Physical doesn't exist no more, but e-commerce grew how much? You know what I mean? So I decided not to do that because it was just so difficult with the developers and everything and just life and how much money it costs. And I just chose not to do it. And
but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's still not in your roadmap.
Oh, no, it's not.
It's not?
It's not.
Oh,
interesting.
If I ever open up a coffee shop or any type of physical establishment, it's because I either want to do it for the community or I want to give you an experience. But making money out the coffee space physically is tough, bro. Because like it's just so many factors. You know what I mean? And my thing is like I don't want to be limited to a specific community. Although I love being within communities, I like having no limit. And like when you open up a space, you're stuck to the space. But you never think about if you open up at 6 a.m. and somebody texts you at 5 a.m. talking about, hey, I can't come in today. What are you gonna do? You gotta come in. How about if you in like Florida doing a trade show? Or in Colombia at a coffee farm, what you gonna do? Hop on a plane and come back and open up the shop? You can't open up. Now you're inconsistent. Now you lose customers because they still need coffee. They're gonna go across the street. So it's like, gotta think about all these things that I've seen. You know what I mean? I did a pop-up coffee shop one time in collaboration with somebody. And like being there and opening up every day, 7 days a week, I was like, yo, this is number one, I'm burnt out. 2, I didn't start this business with the business model of a coffee shop. I started it with coffee roasting and e-commerce. That's really how I started. I started selling coffee online. That was the business model. So you gotta pick which lane. So when people talk about stay in your lane, they're not playing. Like you really gotta pick a lane. Because in coffee, you could be a farmer, you could be an importer, you could be a transportation company like the freight, you could be a roaster, you could be a distributor, you could be a coffee shop. It's so many pieces that you could be a barista. Could be a Q grader. It's just so many pieces to it. You really got to pick a lane, and you really could diversify when you have bread to pay people. Like this is your job. This is your job. Cool. You're wholesale. You're the coffee shop manager. You're gonna open. You're the developer. You're gonna open them. You know what I mean? Like you got to get to a certain level. So for me, it was like I sat back and I looked at what works and what doesn't. At least in terms of that, and I was like, yo, e-commerce has no limit. Because guess what? When I'm on NBC, I even ship to Hawaii, Puerto Rico, Cali, Florida, Ohio. Tell me what shop in the hood is gonna get me to ship there.
And
e-commerce is.
It's a click, you know,
like, and I love my peoples and you know, but I'm just not trying to limit my growth. I want to maximize my impact.
I hear you.
You know, and I don't want no limit to where I could reach, and that's what e-commerce is. And COVID accelerated it.
I think it kind of sobered up that whole vision because I think a lot of people kind of had similar ambitions. You know, it sounds great. You want to create a community space. I think we all kind of like see the virtue in that. Yeah, we see the virtue in that.
I would love to do that when it's not for profit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you said that was one thing, but what was the second thing?
The second one? What was the second one? I got lost in that one.
What's that?
Okay. I got you right now. It'll come back up.
Solid one either way.
That was a solid one. The second one, The biggest decision I made? Oh yeah, bro. Big one. Bro, I used to sell to like about 60 supermarkets, like Seatown, Fine Fair, Key Food, all them city, inner city supermarkets. And one day I was just like, I'm not selling to nobody. And it's like, yo, you just dubbed 60 supermarkets. I wish I was in one. And I was like, well, you don't know how much it takes to manage that. I got to call them. Oh, hey, I'm on lunch. Call me back. Okay, and I got 60 people to call. And you just told me to call you back. Now that became 61 calls.
Yep.
Then somebody else said, call them back. Now they just became 62 calls.
Before you know it's 120 calls.
So now it's 120 calls. And you don't got that many calls in a day. Now, so I picked Monday to be my call day. But then Tuesday's my invoice. They were like, hey, your invoice is past due. That affects your cash flow. All these stores work on credit. Right. So when you're unprofessional, not you, but when the stores are mom and pop and they're trying to stretch their bread, and you got 60 people that owe you $200, how much is that? If you got 60 people that owe you $1,000, how much is that? Exactly. So then it's like, how do you manage your cash flow? And that's where I learned that I don't care about none of these accounts because it's not sustainable for me. I would only do it if I have an intermediary that gives me my money up front and they got to deal with them.
And they're managing everything for
you know what I mean? And I never felt comfortable giving up X amount of percent of my sales to do that. Now I am because I see the value in it. Yeah. So I dubbed that. And I said, I don't want to work with other small businesses because other small businesses shoot each other in the foot. Like, bro, you think that I didn't have costs for that? Like, I had to pay the farmer, pay. I had to roast it, pay for the roaster rental. That bag, I had to pay for that bag. That label, I had to pay for that label. My car, the tolls, the employees, like all of that, the delivery, the box it's in, bro. The people don't think about that.
And they're not marketing or pushing your product the way that you would be pushing it yourself.
Right. Then you got to fight for that, like shelf space and like the right allocations and like part of the store, which is like a whole nother like career set, if you will, right?
Yeah. So it's just so many hats. So I chose not to do that anymore, and I said, now I want something that's more professional. You know what I mean? And I love my mom and pops, but it was just really tough, bro, because I don't got money. You don't got money now. Now you taking my money. How we gonna make this work? Yeah. So I need a re-up. You messing up my re-up money.
Yeah. So how was that pivot, right? So from pivoting to smaller mom and pop shops to something a little bit larger, a little bit more corporate. Yeah. What was that relationship building like? How did you get your foot in the door? Obviously, through a lot of the outlets that you've been featured on, like that was helpful. But like once that communication started, did you see the difference between mom and pop and then super big corporate guy or whatever?
Yeah, I feel like how did I get there? I've always been in rooms. Like either I put myself in the room or people just see the potential in me and they put me in the room. Like, I don't know, maybe I have good energy, but people put me in rooms or I put myself in the room. Either or, maybe it's a mix.
End up there.
I end up in there, right? And I feel like I have good luck or good karma. I don't believe in luck. I believe in like putting in the work and having the opportunity and then executing the opportunity. You know what I mean? So I feel like I've had many opportunities where I was like, yo, I'm not ready for that, but I'm going to make myself ready. And that's kind of how I started the brand. I'm like, yeah, I'm in college and I should finish my degree and then do the brand. But the brand has little potential and I'm just going to choose that right now. Because this opportunity might not be here in a year, you know? It was really just getting to that point of like, yo, I want more stability in my life. Like, bro, being an entrepreneur in any shape, form, or capacity, it's hard. You know what I mean? You're working all the time. You're trying to keep up. You're trying to save bread. Trying to cut costs, maximize profits. Like, you're trying to figure that out. And even that takes time because some people don't even know what it costs them to make something. Some people don't even know the profitability of their product. And that's okay. I just came from a space where, like, that was a part of the program. You know what I mean? Like, you had to know that to even do this. But in our communities, a lot of people don't even know what those numbers are.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's more about, like, how do we get people educated to know that. Yeah, bro, it was just figuring out what I wanted in my life. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, yo, what level do I want to be on? And how will I get there? I want financial stability. I want financial growth. Well, I need people that could provide that. Yeah. And Big Fish provide that. You know what I mean? Whole Foods provides that.
And I'm sure there's a give and take.
Distributors, yeah.
There's a give and take. Like, there's probably some things from the mom and pop relationship that you probably miss, but some things that you probably like, I'm good without. Like you said, like you mentioned, it's like I'm over that part already. But just to kind of segue into another question real quick, you clearly like are a very driven person and kind of like, you know, you have a lot of things mapped out for yourself. Does that come from anybody? Like, is there anybody you could look to that you can say like, yo, that person was like my inspiration?
I think it's number one, my mom. My mom has always been driven. Like she's been an entrepreneur her whole life. Like she doesn't know what that term is, but she's always done it. She's always been a hustler. You know what I mean? And then when we got to this country, she's always worked 1 or 2 jobs. She did what she had to do to keep the lights on and take care of us.
Love that.
My mom is number one, always positive. 2, always on time, always driven, always respectful. Doesn't curse, doesn't say crazy things. Just a classic Dominican woman from a certain time.
Yeah.
And my mom had me when she was 40. So I always say
Same.
that. I wasn't, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's great.
You know what I mean?
Shout out to that. I'll give you guys a toast.
My mom brags about that all the time. So, I was 41.
You know what I mean?
My mom was older too. Right.
So my thing is like, I've always said, and this is this is not disrespect to anybody whose mom had them young, but I've always said I didn't grow up with my mom. My mom was already grown when she had me, so there was no ifs, ands, or buts.
Yep.
This is what it is, and that's that, and this is right, this is wrong, straight up, black and white. There was no figuring out nothing. You know what I mean? So yeah, my mom was always the number one driver, and then my brother has always been out there because of her. So he was the second. He was the first child, so then he picked up her qualities and then made his own qualities. He became himself, and then I picked up her style and then his style. And they were always go-getters, motivational, just, oh, we failed, well, something happened, we always gonna go. We always gonna go. You just never give up.
Word.
You just never give up. Giving up is not even an option. It just doesn't even exist.
Yeah, all for it.
You know what I mean? And when you believe in something, bro, like this company, like, I just don't see how it could fail. I just never saw how, even when nobody saw my vision. And number one, honestly, bro, I sometimes hate when people tell me what to do, because it's like, you don't see what I see, so you can't judge it how I judge it or see it how I see it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And I respect advice and life lessons, but I choose which ones I want to take or not. And sometimes people get offended when I don't take their advice.
That's the beauty of it. Like, you kind of take what fits you, right? And whatever works for you.
And I mean, you touched on it, right? So like one of the biggest things about you is that you learn through experience, through doing and failing on your own or succeeding on your own. And it's true. Like I'm very much in that same boat where I'll get great advice. Like people give me advice all the time, and sometimes I choose not to do it because I want to learn for myself, for better or for worse. You know?
I think advice is I definitely don't reject advice. I do feel the same way. It's like sometimes it's like, if I agree with you, then we both be wrong, son. Like, just plain and simple.
I feel like when it comes to advice, you got to consider your source, right? Because everyone's giving you advice, right? Like, there's an old man in the corner, like, oh, wow, you got to do this. Like, I'm not going to, like, thanks for the advice, but I'm not taking that advice, right? And that's like on the far, like, side of the spectrum.
You know what you got to do?
Yeah, son, what you got to do is this.
You got to build up an LLC.
Whenever someone comes to you with advice and the first thing they say is, all you got to do is fucking wrong advice. It's wrong advice, bro. But, like that's, like I said, that's like the really fucking far side of the spectrum. But there are those people like who are in, I guess, like your corporate settings or your settings that are like professional, that they'll also give you advice, but it's the same advice that the dude on the corner would have gave you anyway. So you gotta pick and choose like that type of shit. And like, just to hammer it down, like, it's like, I'm not taking all your advice, bro.
Some people just blowing smoke.
Some people just blowing smoke up your ass.
At all levels.
Just so that they could be like, yo, that's the guy we met on the corner.
One time I gave him some advice.
Well, I told him he should have switched up his laces, and what he did, he switched them up, and now look at him. Like, it's like it gets to that petty level where it's like, bro, shut up.
I told him he needed to capitalize the C in Carvajal.
That's it. Yo, one time I told him.
After that, it was history, bro.
Go get your teeth whitened, and look at him now. Like, you know what I mean?
He got a new number and all that.
But going back to this whole thing around advice and being cautious about it, like, do you have a mentor? Did you pick up a mentor over the last few years? And like, what is that advice like? And obviously, how did you choose your mentor and all of that?
Yeah, I've always had mentors since college. Like, somebody approached me like, hey, you should have a mentor. Her name was Migna Tavares. She used to work at New York Life back then. And she saw me selling candy in the train. She's like, you're very well spoken, and you look like a bright kid, and you look like you're not a bad kid. And like, she asked me like, you ever thought about going to college? And I was like, honestly, I've never had that conversation with somebody.
Word.
And I was like a junior in high school, almost a senior, I think. She asked me, have you ever thought about going to college? And like, that was the first person that like spoke to me about the future. Like, me and my mom always spoke about what's in front of us. Like, you're gonna finish high school, right? Let's not talk about nothing past that. Let's focus on right now.
Yeah.
You know, and like having that conversation of like the future was like, wow. And then I was like, I've never had that conversation. She's like, well, if you want to have it, my office is on 42nd Street, Grand Central.
Wow.
You know, come through. And then I became her intern.
That's great.
And she exposed me to that corporate world, wearing a suit every day. I had the clip tie at first because I couldn't, you know. And then I got the real one, and then I used to go to my brother's crib before the internship to do it for me and all that stuff. So that was like my first real mentor. I appreciate her. We're connected to this day. And then fast forward, I've always had mentors. Right now I only have one. He's actually the co-founder of that cup company, Mir. I work with them closely because they do a lot of coffeeware and stuff like that. We actually met today, you know, and it was like asking to date, like, hey, you know, like I just wanted to see if you could just donate 30 minutes of your time once a month. I just need 30 minutes. And you know, that time to me is like he's at a point where I really appreciate where he's at and what he's built. And no matter what you do, there's a process, and there's similar things that we all experience. Like getting my first huge order that I probably don't even have enough money for. How do you get financing for that? Because I know that exists.
Yeah.
I know that exists. I just don't know how that works.
Right.
How do you patent something? I know that exists. I just don't know how that works. You know what I mean? How do you trademark our name? I know that exists. I just don't know how it works.
Yeah.
Nobody in the hood
knows
will
that.
teach me that.
Right.
So you got to seek outside of that, unfortunately. You know what I mean? But now we learn these things, and we can bring that back to the hood. You know what I mean? So I've always seeked having a mentor, and that I feel like that's how you approach people, bro. Like, if you show people your true intentions, and you pull up genuinely, like they just might give you 30 minutes a month. That doesn't sound like a lot. It means a lot depending on how you pull up. And when they gave you that time, you pull up with homework and questions.
Yeah.
Because if you wasted time, they're not gonna be motivated to even join the call.
And I love the way that you framed it. It's asking, can you donate 30 minutes of your time? Because it is so important.
How many minutes are in a month? I don't know. Let's do the math. But it depends on the month. But when you break it down like that, it's like 30 minutes out of thousands of minutes. It's like, that's not so bad. You know what I mean?
In the past, I've heard you speak very passionately about waste. Not just like waste, but waste of time. Because that's like, it's a very important thing. You don't have much of it because you invest so much of it into your business, into all the different verticals that go into maintaining your business. Talk to us a little bit about the importance of that, because even within this conversation, you had mentioned your mother being super punctual, even you being very punctual, and like the importance of those like very core aspects. Like, tell us about that.
Yeah, one thing I hate is people say, this is the time, don't be on Dominican time. Oh, that revs me up.
CP time.
Like, yes, I'm Dominican, but don't tell me I'm pulling up on Dominican time. You know what I mean? Like, stereotypes. I met someone at the farmer's market. And so we do farmer's markets every Saturday and Sunday. And he's such an interesting person. I'm not even going to say his name. But he works with really known people in the industry of music and fashion. And he's just a very reputable guy that I admire so much. And one day I asked him, what does he do? And he told me what he does. And then I think he gave me his website so I could understand what he does. And it was very simple. And the opening of that website was like something in a quote. And it just said, time is the only luxury. And what he worked with are the most luxurious items that you can imagine. But time is the only luxury in a world of materialistic things. And I'm just like, yo, we could spend $10 right now and get it back tomorrow because that's direct deposit hits on Fridays. You know what I mean? So it's like, we could get that money back, but like time, once you spend that, you could never get that back. It is the most precious thing in the world. You know what I mean? And I've wasted a lot of time. I've made bad decisions, good decisions. I've wasted a lot of time. And I really look at it like, yo, like we all have a clock. We just don't know what time we have.
I think we all think we're wealthy with time.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So like because we're so wealthy with time,
rich.
Yeah, we feel young. Yeah. We feel like whatever. But we were talking about it earlier. Some shit could happen to you tomorrow, and like, bro, that time that you had,
never come back.
Damn.
For real.
Damn.
So look at that, because I was going to touch into the billionaire. I was going to talk about billionaires, right? Like that guy that gives you advice on the corner, right?
Yep.
Let's say Papo, right? Papo versus a billionaire. Let's just say Bill Gates. like we all have the same wealth of time.
Mm-hmm.
We got different amount of monies, but we all have the same wealth of time. It's 24 hours. How do we choose to use that time? Maybe what that guy Papo in the corner does is different from what Bill Gates does in his 24 hours. Yeah. You know what I mean? But it's not like Papo has the same opportunities Bill Gates had at the same time.
Yep.
So it's more about like how you occupy your time, because we don't all start at third base.
And how you interpret it too, because I would imagine that hypothetical Papo would be like overjoyed if he had a productive day, whereas Bill Gates, like that comes normally because like, you know, you're insulated from like interruptions and like shit like that when you got money, right? Like you just focus on the job, everything else is taken care of for you. So you don't got to like pay attention to nothing else but whatever it is that you do. But whereas like Papo, he got to worry about 1,000,001 other things. But if he got 2 or 3 things done that day, that shit is worth more than probably like the day that Bill Gates spent, in my opinion.
Yep.
Yeah.
But real quick, like Hector, on waste, like I know you were talking about more like a literal thing, but more on the broader sense, like in sustainability. One thing that I read about you as well is like that's another part where you're like really frustrated and kind of got a bone to pick, if you will, with that process. You mentioned earlier about like you could be so many things within that process of making coffee. And I read that you want to make all those processes from like farming and harvesting to like when you get it at the counter, 100% sustainable. Like what are some of your ideas when it comes to that kind of stuff?
I feel like the coffee supply chain is so big, and a lot of people throw terms around to make things sound good.
Like buzzwords
all day.
Organic.
Like the freshest cup of coffee you ever had. But you've never heard of the term degassing, have you? You guys ever heard of that term?
No.
Degassing. You want to let coffee rest.
I know what degassing is personally. You know what I mean? I don't know.
I'll be degassing, you know, when I wake up in the morning.
You know what I'm saying? Hey, Semana Santa, right? If you know, you know. Si tú sabes, tú sabes, you know? But you want to let coffee rest. Maybe on average 10 days, 14 days. That's when it really mellows down into what it should be. Coffee releases a lot of carbon dioxide when it's fresh, right? A lot of people don't know. So a lot of the things are education. So people throw buzzwords out there and things like, oh my God, the freshest cup of coffee. It was roasted yesterday. You don't even want to drink that. Yeah. You want to wait a certain amount of time. It's like wine. Imagine like, this is the first day we took the wine out. Nah, wine, isn't wine
meant to sit?
Isn't it meant to sit? You know what I mean? So it's just educating people. So what I'm saying, all that to say that there's a thing called direct trade. It's not fair trade, it's direct trade. Like it's basically you're the farmer and I'm the coffee roaster here in New York. Like I want to work directly with you. Because if not, the typical cup of coffee goes through 15 different businesses or 15 different hands. Like 15 people profit before you get it.
Yeah.
So when you buy it at the store, it's like, yo, 15 people made bread off of this. You know what I mean? And it's like all those 15 on average took bread out of the farmer. And the farmer is the one to get the least amount of money.
So it's put in the most amount of work.
And put in the most amount of, and without that person or that family, we won't have none of this.
Right.
So it's like, why are we not taking care of the source? So it's more about building direct relationships with farmers and bridging that gap, you know what I mean? And minimizing how much travel, because coffee goes from this place to that place, and how much eco emissions are we putting onto the environment with that? You know what I mean?
Because even just in the transportation of it all, it's
and it's really limiting the distance, the operations, and it's even me thinking like, I would rather buy coffee from the Dominican Republic than from Ethiopia. Not because I have anything against Ethiopians. It's just less distance for it to travel, which means we're putting less waste into the environment to get it here.
Yeah.
So let's think about things like that. You know what I mean? Like they're starting to build coffee farms in Cali now. There's like a region apparently that they're doing that. Sure. So it's like when you think about that, you never think about the distance coffee travels in the ocean and how much waste that creates.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I used to donate coffee grounds to local gardens, but I'll do that in my car.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That wastes gas. You know what I mean? So
it's like neutralizing the effort.
So then I'm really thinking about it like, this doesn't even, it cancels everything I did out.
Yeah.
Because yo estoy sentado en tráfico. For 1 hour, I'm in traffic, wasting gas, just pumping it into the air, idle, with coffee grounds that we're going to compost in the back. You know what I mean? Like, explícame. So it's really just think about every single move that you make, every single operation, and how can you make that greener. You know what I mean? Like, what I've done in the past is like we receive coffee in like a burlap bags, jute bags, And then we've taken that to like a local seamstress. So it's like, yo, cut that into like tote bags. And now we're not creating more landfill to dump in Staten Island because they can't take no more landfill.
Right.
Or in the hood, right?
Send that shit to PA.
But let's just do something.
Let's create something out of it.
Let's create something out of it. Like, so repurposing waste, like composting or making bags out of it, or
like upcycling
and things like that. You know, so that's kind of like how I approach things. I like to just like pull back the curtain and be like, yo, like what are the operations that go into getting this here, into manufacturing it, into making it, and things like that. And it's all about, I think it's eco-consumerism. I haven't spoken about this in so long, but you got to really find a tribe, a clientele that's willing to pay an extra $1 because you're paying more for the process. Being eco is not cheaper. It actually costs more.
It costs a lot more.
You know what I mean? For you to have compostable bags, costs more.
Yep.
But that actually has to go to a composting facility. And now that there's education. Education costs money. But then it's like, how are you going to educate them? Videos, content, that costs money. You know what I mean? Postcards, you don't want to do that because now you're educating about waste with more waste.
More waste.
You know what I mean? So it's just really just thinking about everything because, bro, we could go on and on about that.
So I clearly like, and I can relate. This is something that's like kind of near and dear to you. There are people that want to get more sustainable or more ethically kind of consumerized, right? Like how, in your mind, like as somebody who has their own business endeavor, like e-commerce is like number one, in my opinion. I think that's like the most sustainable thing that you probably could have done, right? Like, even though it has its like paths, but what are some like simple things that people can do in your mind, like to become more sustainable or more like
in terms
conscious?
Of coffee?
And just in terms
we
of
have
consumer.
A client, I think their name is Pack Elephant. They're somewhere in like the United States. They're just nowhere near here. And they have a store where like they buy our coffee in like big bulk bags. So then like, let's say a 5-pound bag equals 6.6 bags, 12 ounce.
Right.
But then how much material is going into that? So what they do is they buy it in big jugs, like big bags. And then you actually go with a mason jar. And like, and then you just dump it in there. So it's like, I was like, that's so simple, but it's so creative.
Yeah.
Because you don't really see that like that. It's starting to pop up more.
And not many people want to do that, right? Like you kind of see it with breweries, like with the growlers and stuff. You go
right, but then you lose a little bit of just brand recognition on that one.
You do, but it's about educating the consumer. You know what I mean? So I mean, the brand is still on the wall. You know what I mean? Like the info is there.
Yeah.
And people, if they want to know, they'll know.
Is there something that you haven't seen or that you kind of want to do or implement that you haven't yet, or
in terms of
like sustainability, like anything?
Something I wish that I could do, but it just doesn't even make sense. Is that like we can send you the coffee bag, and then we put like a return label in it, and then you send it back, and then we'll make sure it gets to where it needs to get. But then that's not even sustainable because how much gas and waste and packaging and things like that. Yeah. You know, but I always just think about ways that we can offset what type of waste we create. You know what I mean? So that's what I would do if I had a physical store. Like bring your bag back. Let's just refill that same bag or build reusable bags. You know what I mean? That were engraved in this community. But with e-commerce, I can't do that if you're in Cali, unless I open up a store in Cali. Yeah. And that's not financially sane.
This is why I was saying, like, that's it, bro. All my recycling, my garbage, my fucking everything. This is all going down the same chute. All the clothes I want to donate, it's all going in one bag, and I'm putting that shit in the front so the government can get it. Because, this is just my personal joint, and this is not a knock on you or anybody else, but like, fuck all that, bro. You know what I mean? Like, because exactly like you said, like, why am I recycle this bottle when the company that made the bottle made it without any intentions of it being recycled? And on top of that, like, when I recycle it, like the garbage people or the recycle people come, they're wasting gas, and they're gonna take it to Long Island and waste gas over there.
But I got you right now. Cause in DR we still do that though. Okay. In the colmados you still bring back the bottle back, and they take that
soda,
back.
You buy soda, you gotta take.
And you bring that back, and like that's still a culture. You know what I mean? But guess what? Capitalists won here.
Yeah.
They won here. Capitalists won. They just won. We still have that costumbre back home.
Yeah.
In DR we still do that. You know what I mean? So it's like still finding ways to build community. Like we don't really. I feel like in New York, people talk about how mean New Yorkers are and whatnot, but like it's really tough to build community. Like this is a sense of community. That's why we're all here. But it's really hard to get a sense of community over here. Everybody's in their own world. Like in DR, you have a backyard. But see now, you know, I made a cup of coffee. You want some? Over here, it's just like, yo, leave me alone, son. You know what I mean? Like every apartment is an ecosystem.
Why you want to know my last name?
You know what I mean? And everybody's in the world. So I feel like that exists, and I'm passionate about it because I know I have the capability of creating an imprint in this world.
Yeah.
I have a difficult time as a person, as Hector, where I'm at, because I'm just one person. But as a corporation that has hundreds, if not thousands of clients, we could really make an impact with thousands of people. You know what I mean?
Just
so
one,
it
like,
just
small
when
thing.
you think about the masses,
Yeah.
you could really make an impact. You know what I mean? So I feel you on not being able to make a difference as a person.
Yeah,
But
individually.
I feel like corporations don't take enough responsibility, and
Very
that's
true.
where we lack, because corporations do stuff at scale.
Yeah.
It's hundreds and thousands of things going out from different buildings, different
Yeah.
things. So it's like really getting down to that.
Oh, that's a fact.
But if everybody recycled, it would be great.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
And put
I
things
mean,
where they
If
should.
the recycling companies recycle,
Yo,
that would be great.
That's how I used to say, like, I'm not big on recycling, but reusing, bro, I will reuse the fuck out
Yeah.
of whatever the fuck, bro.
Upcycling
But that's like Dominican Hispanic culture.
Yo,
like,
Yeah.
that's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say when you said in DR, like, that culture still exists. I think that just anybody who's in, like, whatever you want to call it, like the global south or whatever, like, those are the most resourceful and sustainable people on this earth. Like, I think that there's a world of, like, consumers, and then there's a world of, like, producers, and it doesn't look the way when you hear that phrase, I think you assume who the producers are, who the consumers are, but it doesn't look the way I think people would imagine. I think, like, there's just a lot of, like, cross carrying by, like, very, very poor people, and then there's just, like, a bunch of motherfuckers spitting their gum on the sidewalk. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like that, the equivalent of that. I mean, obviously not literally.
Hector, I'm curious to know a little bit more about the community that you've built over the last few years through your customer base, right? So, like, number one, how do you keep them engaged? How do you keep them engaged? And obviously, they're coming back because the product is amazing. But what is the experience? How are you keeping these people engaged and wanting them to continue coming back for more? Not just because of the product, but just because of the overall brand.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I appreciate you. I think that I'm just very transparent. You know what I mean? Like, when I meet people, they tell me, like, oh, like, you're an awesome person and I love your brand. And I'm like, well, they start with the brand. Like, I love your brand. I'm like, oh, yeah. The brand is really just an extension of me. You know what I mean? Like, the brand is really, I mean, obviously I created it, but, like, everything you see in the brand is everything, like, I believe in for real. You know what I mean? So I live that as a person and as a company. I feel like people really stick around and people invest into it because, like, I really want you to be a part of this journey. You know what I mean? Like, there's money involved, and yeah, we're gonna blow up one day on some crazy stuff. But when I post on Instagram, like, I really sit there to, like, I'm talking to my friends and family. You know what I mean? Like, I was in DR 3 weeks ago, lost count, right? And like, when I get back, bro, like, I'll send you a picture of me, like, in DR, and, like, I'll write about my experience. Like, yo, I went to DR, like, this is what I experienced. It was a great trip. But, like, I'll really keep you in the loop. Like, yo, I just came back from DR. I was with my homie Don Alfredo. We was at his farm. We tasted this coffee, and we're gonna drop this one. So that's like, people love being a part of something, and, like, it's not me using that as a marketing scheme. It's like, I really want to keep you in the loop because you've invested into me. You signed up for my newsletter. That's a big commitment. I hate emails. You know what I mean? Like, when people really want to genuinely know and they follow you in your journey, like, to me, that's beautiful. So I feel like just being transparent and being honest and being straight up with people really like that. And they want to be a part of this journey. And, like, when I started, you know, I really thought that my community, as in the Bronx, Uptown, the Heights, Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, Latino, Mexican people, like, all of us, like, from that I see in my community will be my number one supporters. But my supporters are everything, bro. It's just, there's no race to it. There's no color. There's no age. Like, people just rock with me. And if you support me, you support me. And if you see my vision, you see it. You know what I mean? But there's people that see that hustler in me. There's people that see that I won't give up. There's people that see that I have big dreams, and, like, they invest into that.
Exactly.
Like, when I used to sell candy, people would tell me, yo, keep the $1. I don't want the fruit snack. Give that to somebody else. I just appreciate you for being a hustler and being here right now and not being in the streets, putting more poison in the streets. You out here selling fruit snacks and Oreos and water bottles. You know what I mean? Like,
Basketball team.
you know what I'm saying?
For the basketball team,
And that's one thing. I even had people give me, like, yo, here's $5 because you ain't say us for the basketball team. You know what I mean? Like, you really come, like, yo, I'm just here after school and I'm just getting some money to put in my pocket to take care of myself.
But
I've always been honest.
You're right though. Like I think that part of the allure too is, you know, when you said you keep people or like you want people to join you, you know, you be posting like, yo, I'm up. It's like 4 a.m, son. I'm getting to it, and it's like a big ass like sack of coffee, and like you getting ready and shit.
See, but it's so interesting that's what catches your attention.
Yeah, it's like
right?
because it's like behind the scenes. You know, everything that makes money has a process that looks like this in some way, right? But like to like make people feel comfortable behind the curtain a little bit, and like make them feel like they could rock with you. Like, yo, almost to the point where if I respond to the story you post and be like, yo, can I pull up and watch you work? You would say yes because it looks the whole shit looks like, yo, pull up.
I'm gonna tell you how that started. Harry's behind the cameras right now. Me and Harry one day we shot a video starting at 2 a.m, and I was like, how can I make people understand how special this bag of coffee is? Like how? And I was like, let me just show them the process.
Yeah.
And my man's right here woke up with me at like 1 a.m. At 2 a.m, we was driving to Long Island City because I used to roast at 4 a.m. That was the cheapest slot. From 4 to 6, it was the cheapest slot. Then 6 to 6 was more expensive. So being that I'm short on money, I used to go for the cheapest route all the time. Not bad quality, it's just same machine, but nobody want to roast that for. So they make that cheaper because they still gonna make money, right? So I would take the 4 a.m. slot. And I was like, yo, like, isn't it crazy how the bakeries be up early? How the bagel spots be up early? They're like, they don't really tell that story. And I looked at it like, yo, like if people understood that, man, like that bag they're about to drink, like I really started working on that at 2 a.m. And then I roasted it at 4. And then at like 10 a.m. I dropped it off at the supermarket. Like if people really understood that, like what goes into roasting and the coffee bags, and the coffee's not even brown, it's green. And then it's like, let me show you how it goes from A to Z. And that's not even me including the farm, you know? So it was really me just showing people the behind the scenes. And I've always thought about like content, you know? I've always been into marketing because it has always been my thing, and that's why I went to school for it. But I always had the natural marketing eye. But for me, it was like, how can I show you value? It's like, let me just show you the process. And like, I've had periods of time where I was like, oh, I ran out of content ideas. And then it was just like, what am I saying? The content is me. The content is me. It's everything. Is the content is this right now. You know what I mean? Like, it's just me showing you the lifestyle. The lifestyle alone is enough.
And so to me, I think it's so interesting. That's the part that catches your attention, right? For me, it's the storytelling behind everything that you're doing, right? And granted, all of it is storytelling, but the personal storytelling. So like, for example, you going to DR this past 3 weeks ago, the one thing from that post, that carousel post that you posted of images that caught me was like, yo, my grandfather's hat.
Oh, yeah, that was a big
Bro,
one.
when I saw that and just reading the caption, I was like, and I'm gonna be completely honest, the reason that I fell in love with your brand is you, and it's your story, and it's the way that you tell it, right? Because in so many ways, it's relatable to so many people, but it is a story that needs to be told. And when you're able to pull at the heartstrings of people in an authentic way, you got it. You know what I'm saying? But that post, and I really want to hear what that moment felt like. You know?
Bro. Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. That was a very special moment. And that was organic content. Yeah. Like I had months before posting, before DR. And I got to DR and like it was just like instantly like me prendí. Like once I leave, I'm just like, oh, this is it right here. And my aunt was like, remember 3 years ago, like you asked about his hat that he was wearing? Because when he passed, people kept different things. Somebody kept his horse, like saddle. Somebody kept his hat. Somebody kept his shirt. Somebody kept his, it's 11 kids. You know what I mean? So then it got spread out. And I was like, yo, man, like I know that all the respect to the sons of my grandfather and my uncles and aunts, but I know none of y'all gonna use the hat like I will. You know what I mean? Like it just don't mean the same. Y'all not gonna capitalize it the same way. And I'll really do something for the family and generations to come with that hat alone. Yeah. Like I'll put that in a glass case, bulletproof, in whatever coffee shop I open up. Because I want to tell you, this is a real guy. I really got inspired to make my grandfather's image, make him the image because of things like Uncle Sam and Juan Valdez and like the Starbucks Sirena. Obviously the Sirena's not real, but you thought Uncle Sam was real.
Yeah.
But
Juan Valdez, that was
Juan Valdez.
Growing up, I feel like you you cannot get that image burned out of your head.
Yeah.
It's between that and even like Santo Domingo coffee, like those are like those brands.
They're
you know
engraved,
what I'm saying?
they're
That you
engraved.
grew up looking at your entire
and
life.
so those brands come up with images and like propaganda to sell you, right? And that's how they sell themselves. Like the Amazon, you don't see Amazon no more. You just see a smile. It's an icon. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how I came up with the idea of him. But the difference is, he's a real person.
Yeah.
Like, he used to put me on his horse and we used to go around. So in that moment, bro, like when she pulled out them hats, like, oh, I'm glad you came, because I only went for a day to where I'm from because I had a trade show. And she was like, look, and I'm like, nah, don't tell me that's what I think it is. She was like, yeah, these were two of his favorites. Y tenían hoyo, some of them were dirty. She's like, yeah, we can send this to the city. They'll clean it up. They'll make it brand new. They'll patch it up. I'm like, no.
I want it just like that.
I want it just like this.
It's true. It lends to everything.
Like, I want the dirt, the crease, the hole, just leave it just like that, because that tells a story of time that leaves it in that time. You know what I mean? And yeah, bro, it was just a special moment, like to think that I have something from him apart from my genetics, right? That doesn't get better than that. But his hat was like, wow, like that's such a special thing, because that's something he will wear every day, go to work with it, be at home with it, you know, go to events with it. It was just such a piece, because that's really what makes a Don. Like, it's the shirt, it's the pants, but the hat and the horse, that's like what makes a Don, you know? So to me, that was a very special moment, bro. It was like a very special gift. I have both of them in my house. And I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet, but I know one day I'll have a great idea of telling a story with that. And that moment, bro, became an organic moment. I was like, because my aunt, she's friendly, she's funny. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, yo, can you just send a message to him, but just say something about the hats. And then she just hopped on there like, yo, mamada. Like, all right, cool. It took one take, bro. And that to me was like, yo, this is it. It was just so special. You know what I mean? It was just like, this is it. Like, wow. Like, I didn't even plan this. I just walked into this. And then after that, it was like, oh, let's go. Vamos con la café. And I was like, yeah, let's do that. And it was the burnt stove with the greca with no handle. Like, I was like, yo, this is it.
Hell yeah.
Because y'all all know exactly what I'm talking about.
The cloth.
You know what I mean? The cloth, all of that. Like, and that's what I felt like I didn't see in this industry. I was like, yo, I don't see that. Like, our culture is not represented in terms of coffee. And like, people will say, well, why do we need Dominican culture in the coffee industry? And it's like, well, you forgot that there's millions of Dominicans in this world. Like, for us, it's a thing. Like, we have a culture, a coffee culture too. You know what I mean? So yeah, that was a moment.
I'm sorry, because I feel like I'm gonna just continue asking you so many questions. So please, guys, out of curiosity, do you feel that after so many years you have developed this knack of almost being like a coffee snob a little bit? Like, do you like go to certain places and you're like, this ain't it?
Yeah. Like, does it ruin your palate?
There's multiple answers. No what?
Dunkin' Donuts. You know, like, I'm sure he goes to Dunkin' Donuts. He's like, get the fuck out of here.
Esta agua. No. Yeah. It's a cup of water. No, I'm just kidding. Dunkin', if y'all want to cut a deal. No, I'm just kidding. Y'all want to collab? I'm just kidding. I like riding my own wave. Yeah, bro. I'm gonna tell you something. I don't like to judge coffee. I don't like to judge things in life, period. Like, I don't bother nobody, so nobody bother me. You know what I mean?
I feel that.
But there are bad cups of coffee. You know what I mean? Like, that exists. And like, the thing is, if you ask me what I'll get, I just get a black cup of coffee most of the time. I just want to try it for what it is. That's a classic thing about me, and that's always how it is. Like, days like today where it's like cloudy and like mellow and it's dark, like, I'll be like, all right, let me get an iced oat milk, 6 grams of caramel latte.
6 grams.
It's just to taste it. You know what I mean? Like, I just want to taste it. But yeah, there are bad cups of coffee, bro. And like, honestly, you got to mess up a cup of coffee really bad for me not to like it. I'll tell you that much. Like, and I've had instances where I'm like, yo, just by the way you steam the milk, if I want oat milk, because I don't drink real milk, I'm like, yo, it just sounds like screeching. I'm like, yo, that's definitely how you don't steam milk. It's supposed to sound like paper shredding. But it sounds like, I'm like, yo, that sounds like an airplane about to go down, bro. And when I hear that, I'm like, oh yeah, that's gonna be a bad drink.
before we wrap, we always ask one question about like just future outlooks, right? Like what's next, but most of all, what is a piece of advice that you would like impart on somebody? Not necessarily like just somebody who's like looking to start their own business venture, but like anybody who wants to like see something realized, right, from zero to completion. Like, what's the best piece of advice you give to them?
I have two that I'm like living by every day right now, and I just love social media and I love technology because we get exposed to technology. We get exposed to different ideas through technology, and like I watch interviews about presidents, rappers, entrepreneurs, just people, you know what I mean? And like, it's beautiful to just hear people talk about like, yo, what was your journey? Like, it's just like this, but I don't think I'm that important, but somebody out there thinks I am, you know what I mean? And that's how I feel about other people, and Nipsey Hussle, he did an interview one time and he said, the thing that makes me different is that I never gave up. Like, what makes him different than everybody that's doing the same thing? He never gave up. And I'm like, yo, I've had too many opportunities to be like, nah, I'm hanging this up. So I'm like, nah. Between max credit cards and cars with the boot and cards going negative and just things, bro. Just bad things. You know what I mean? To be like, yeah, I'm good off of that. Bad experiences with clients, you know what I mean? So just never giving up, you know what I mean? Like, once you believe in yourself, man, you got to take that and ride with it. And trust me, this is not my first business. I've always had ideas. And I ride that idea to the ground. And this one, we're good money. We're going up. You know what I mean? So never give up. Like, you really got to believe in yourself, even when your family members don't see it. And then later they're going to see it. And you got to spare them because it's your idea. It's your child. You know what I mean? And then the other thing is, for a long time, I was creative. I was chopping it up about that earlier. Like, I've never said I was creative. Like, I can't really sit here and draw like that. I don't like in my world. When I grew up in the hood, like being creative was being an artist. Right. Like drawing, that was being creative. The word creative was that for me. And I'm creative in different ways. Storytelling, and portraying an idea and creating a product. I'm creative in that way in wording and marketing. I'm creative in that way, and this is the fourth year of the company being incorporated. I've been in this industry for 5 years because I worked on it a year before launching it. And I've always been creative. And like, as maybe I went to DR and I posted a lot because I wanted you to be on that trip with me. I want people to see the culture and understand it. And if you're from the culture, you'll appreciate it because you're not there right now. You know what I mean? But recently, I don't post as much as I used to. You know what I mean? I like making good quality posts, like meat. Like, it has a foundation, a base. It has content in it. It's not just a post to feed the algorithm.
There's utility in it.
Like it means something. You should really read this caption. Yeah. It's like me with a president right now. You know what I mean? Like, you should really look at this. And I got to the point where, like, I need to slow down on being creative and just pumping stuff out. As an entrepreneur, you need to really sit down at some point in your journey and be like, we really got to focus on making money. And I realized that when I opened up, I said, I'm the founder and CEO of Don Carvajal Café. I don't even like saying that because those are terms that are associated with like power and people who are snobby and things like that. That's how I grew up. Like, oh, this guy's a CEO, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, he's not considerate. But being the founder and CEO, I've always been a founder and I've never been a CEO. I've never been a CEO. Jeff Bezos stepped down not too long ago. He had to find the CEO, not a founder. He had to find the CEO, and he put somebody in that role. Being a founder, I'm emotionally attached to this. This is my grandfather. Like, being a founder, I'm creative with the way I tell you this, and I might take a long time to drop a product because I care about this so passionately, which is great. But then, like, in the last 12 months, I switched the hat.
Revenue.
And I'm like, yo, let me be a CEO. And like, really be a CEO. And let's cut cost, but still keep the same quality. What do? We got to buy in volume. We got to do volume. We got to do it in bulk. We got to strategize in our operations. We got to limit how much we move. We got to centralize things. We got to build better partnerships, direct partnerships, bigger partnerships. And that's when I started strategizing on how do we scale this. And right now, I have some opportunities that are going to scale us. And I'm not going to talk about it until I launch them. And next time we do another episode, I'm going to talk all about it.
When we go to you next time,
you know what I'm saying?
You tell us.
And it's really about switching the hat, founder versus CEO. Now I'm really the CEO. Like, we're gonna scale, we're gonna maximize this, we're gonna seize opportunities. Now I know what rooms to be in. Now I know how to walk into those rooms, what to say. I know who's who when I walk into a business. I know who the owner is off rip. I just know. It's typically a guy holding a phone. It's typically a guy sitting by the computer. It's typically a guy looking around. It's typically a guy asking people if they're all right. It's typically a guy just sitting in the corner by himself, or a woman, or somebody who identifies as however they do. And like, you just know how to read the room.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People talk a certain way. You use certain languages, and that's the second piece, man. Learning how to be a founder and then converting into a CEO. And I feel like there's nothing you could do but live the lifestyle, and then one day it'll hit. Because I got to the point where I'm tired of struggling. You know what I'm saying? Like, shit, I'm tired of it. I'm like, yo.
When I was 11 years old, bro.
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, yo, my mom is a certain age. I need to buy her a house.
Yeah.
I need to buy myself a house. I need a driveway.
Yeah.
I don't want my kids to struggle. You know what I mean? And I don't have any, but one day I want to. I really want to create impact in this world. And operating like a nonprofit when you're a for-profit company is not cool.
Yeah.
It's
It's only so long. It's only so long.
You know what I mean? So you got to really focus on making money at some point. Like, let's really get to this bag. And how do I get to this bag? You know,
fact.
where do I got to go? Who I got to talk to? Yo, I have no shame in sliding in somebody's LinkedIn inbox.
Oh, hell
No
yeah.
shame at all. You just got to figure it out. So, second piece, man, switching hats between founder and CEO.
Yeah.
You can wear both. You just got to balance it. Everything is about balance in life.
That's a fact.
Absolutely. Damn, yo, Hector, thank you, man. Thank you so much for your time.
Word.
Thank you for
Thank
sharing
you.
your story, taking us on this journey. Please let the people know where they can find you and continue to follow this journey.
But so many places. If you Google Don Carvajal Cafe, we'll pop up.
It's gonna pop up on the screen.
SEO is on point right now. But we're on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, doncarvajalcafe.com. You could get some coffee. And soon we're gonna be in a retailer near you.
Wow, look at that.
I just don't know, man. We just might be
gotta wait and find out.
We just might be working on something. So you go to your local supermarket, and if you don't see it there, you tell the manager to holler at me. But we have a new system where it'll go further. So we have opportunity where we're gonna be able to put it in the communities and have it locally. So that'll be a great opportunity.
That's
So
what's
you
up.
can find it on your local store.
That's what's up.
You just might be able to. Yeah.
Don't
Social
forget.
media.
Yep, Don Carvajal Cafe is the gram. If you want to follow my journey, because one thing we talk about is keeping it real. I keep it real. And my Instagram is dc.hec. And that's where I post my life, you know, my day-to-day, my accomplishments, bad days. You know, I'll tell you if I'm having a bad day and why, because people romanticize entrepreneurship too much. And I like keeping it real.
Yeah, word. Be sure to follow Hector, but also follow us at The Smartest Pod on Instagram, TikTok, and hit us up on YouTube.
And yo, big shout out to the Chop House and MRFU for hosting us as always.
Word.
This is home, as you can see. So catch us next episode.
Yeah, next
Hector,
episode.
Thank you, my brother. Appreciate
Thank you for having me.
And yo, this is the smartest guys in the room. Peace out,
Facts.
brothers.
That's a wrap.